All right, so before we begin level 3, so we got to notice that i's repeat themselves. So if I just have one I, that's just going to equal I. But remember, if I have I squared, that equals -1. If I have I to the third power, I can break that down into I squared times I, and I squared is -1. So really, I to the third just equals -I. And then I to the fourth, I can break down as I squared times I squared. And I squared is -1, and so is the other one. So -1 times -1 is just 1. And that's going to repeat itself all the way through. So every multiple of 4, it will repeat. So it's always going to be 1. So what I want to do is take you through a couple examples here. So I to the 7th, I want to break these down in multiples of I. So if I have I to the 4th, okay, I want to break these down, so 7. So if I take 4 from 7, I'm left with 3. So I have I to the 4th times I to the 3rd. So remember, when we have our rules of exponents, when we're multiplying, we're going to add the exponents together. So same idea here. We're just breaking these down into multiples of 4 because I know I to the 4th is 1. So look at the rules above. And then I to the 3rd, again, look at those that we wrote above. I to the 3rd was -1. So I have I times -1. Whoops, not -I. Just no, it is -I. Come on. So this is just going to equal -1. Okay, so it's almost like those multiples of 4 don't matter because 1 doesn't really change anything. Okay, B, I have I to the 8th. So I want to again break it down into multiples of 4. So I to the 4th times I need another 4 to make 8, and then I don't have anything left over. So I to the 4th is 1, I to the 4th is another 1, and 1 times 1 is 1. Okay, all right, letter C. So again, breaking it down into 30. Okay, so I have I to the 4th, I to the 4th, I to the 4th, I to the 4th, I to the 4th. Okay, so because I know my multiples of 4, I know 4 times 7 is 28. Okay, and that means I need another 2 more to get to 30. Okay, so because I to the 4th, this is all 1. And then I to the 2nd is -1. So this whole thing equals -1. Okay, last one here. Okay, I to the 13th, same thing. So I to the 4th, I to the 4th, I to the 4th. Okay, so that's going to get me 12, and then I need 1 more. So I to the 4th 3 times is still going to be 1, and then I is just I. So your answer is just going to be I. So easier way to do this is, for some of you, for others of you, it might be a good idea to write out all the 4s. For others, you can do 13 and divide it by 4. And in your calculator, what you're going to see is you'll see 3.25. So this 3 tells me I have 3 groups of I to the 4th. So that's what you see here. And then I think about, okay, well, what's 4 times 3? That's going to give me 12. That means I just need 1 more I to make 13. So some of you might be able to do that and think about it that way. Others of you might want to list everything out and make sure that you have all your I's together. Okay, let's do some more. We got E, so we're multiplying here. I multiply first and then break down because some things kind of end up happening when you put these together. So again, when you're multiplying with variables and exponents, you're going to add your exponents together. Okay, so I to the 13th. Again, I'm going to break this down. So I to the 4th, 3 groups of 4, and then I have 1 extra one. So this is all 1, and I is just I, so your answer is I. H, I'm still going to put this together. So 2 times 9 is 18. And then I to the 6th times I to the 2nd is I to the 8th. So 18 I'm just going to leave alone for a second. And the I to the 8th I'm going to break down into groups of 4. And I have 2 groups of I to the 4th, so this whole thing is 1. And then I'm going to multiply by 18, so my final answer is 18. Alright, last one, I. So I have negative 2I to the 3rd to the 3rd. So I have negative 2I to the 3rd, negative 2I to the 3rd, and negative 2I to the 3rd. Okay, so I multiply negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2, which is negative 8. And then I to the 3rd, I to the 3rd, I to the 3rd, which is I to the 9th. Okay, so I have negative 9, or I'm sorry, 9I to the 9th. I'm going to break that down into 2 groups of 4, and then that gives me 8, so I just need one more to make 9. So I know that I to the 4th is 1, so I have 2 groups of 1, and then I and negative 8. So negative 8 times 1 is negative 8, and then times I is just I, so I'm just going to leave it as negative 8I. And those are level 3s.